She's looking at you. She looks away when you notice. 3 minutes later, she looks again. You think it's a coincidence. It isn't. She's there, in the same cafe you've been going to for weeks, always at the same time. Always a little too close for it to be an accident. And you? You ignore it. Because you learned that older women aren't interested in younger men. You learned wrong. The truth no one told you is brutal. When a woman over 35 wants you, she's not going to shout it. She's not going to text you saying, "I'm interested." She'll do something much more powerful. She'll create situations. She'll show up. She'll touch your arm for 2 seconds longer than necessary. She'll laugh at your jokes even when they aren't funny. And you'll keep thinking she's just being polite. But why does this confusion happen? Because there's a gap between what you learned about attraction and how mature women actually show interest. They don't flirt like 20-year-old girls. They don't flip their hair dramatically. They don't giggle nervously all the time. They've learned the world judges. That there is a social cost for an older woman to show desire for a younger man. So they create codes. Subtle signs that only someone who knows how to read them can notice. And here's the problem. You were trained your whole life to expect obvious signs. To expect women to be direct when they want something. But women over 35 who are interested in younger men can't be direct. They risk too much. They risk hearing a no that will confirm all their fears about being too old. They risk being seen as desperate, as inappropriate, as pathetic. So the most frustrating dynamic in the world appears. She sends signals you don't understand. You don't respond. She thinks you're not interested. You think she's just being polite. Both lose a real connection because no one taught you to read between the lines. Let's make something very clear right now. There are 2 types of older women interested in younger men. The shy ones and the confident ones. The shy ones are those who spent years in long relationships. Marriages that ended. They don't know how to flirt anymore. They get nervous. They avoid looking directly into your eyes but observe you when they think you're not watching. They show up in the same places as you by accident. They ask about your life in an apparently casual way but memorize every detail you tell them. The confident ones? Those are different. They know exactly what they want. They're direct but sophisticated. They touch you accidentally. They make invitations that seem like just friendship but have a second layer. They hold eye contact for 3 seconds longer than normal. They laugh the right way. They invade your personal space without seeming intrusive. They're masters at creating ambiguity. You're never absolutely sure, but something inside you knows there's interest there. And here lies the secret that few men understand. When an older woman decides she wants you, she has already won a brutal internal war. She has already faced the fear of rejection. The fear of doing something wrong. The fear of social judgment. When she starts sending signals, it's not a game. It's not pastime. It's real desire crossing huge barriers. But you need to know how to differentiate politeness from interest. And that's the skill that separates men who understand attraction from men who keep losing opportunities. Politeness happens once. Interest repeats. Politeness is generic. Interest is specific to you. Politeness keeps distance. Interest creates proximity. For example, she greeted you once in the elevator. Politeness. She greets you every day and always brings up something you mentioned last week. Interest. She smiled when she crossed paths with you at the supermarket. Politeness. She's always at the supermarket at the same times as you and always goes down the aisle where you are. Interest. The thing is that older women have learned to disguise interest as coincidence, as politeness, as chance. Because being direct has a social cost for them. So they play the game differently. And this game has rules you need to learn to read. Think about this. How many times have you ignored signs because you thought you were imagining things? How many times did you dismiss the idea that that amazing woman could be interested in you simply because she was a few years older? How many real connections have you lost because no one taught you that attraction doesn't respect age? If you're enjoying this content, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like the video. This kind of information doesn't reach you by accident. Now let's dive into the concrete signs. The specific behaviors. The real situations that show when an older woman is truly interested. Because knowledge without application means nothing. And you need to know exactly what to look for. The first sign you need to master is the look. But not just any look. It's the look that repeats. She watches you when you're not paying attention. You lift your head and she quickly looks away. 5 minutes later it happens again. And again. This isn't random shyness. It's controlled interest. She wants you to notice, but she can't be too obvious. Because if you don't respond, she needs plausible denial. She needs to be able to say you interpreted it wrong. Older women are experts at creating emotional exits. At building situations where their interest can be denied if necessary. And this isn't manipulation. It's protection. When you carry years of experience, you know that vulnerability without guarantees hurts too much. So she tests. She sends small signals first. She sees how you react. She increases the intensity gradually. Second sign, fabricated proximity. She shows up in the same places as you with suspicious frequency. Gym at the same time. Supermarket always when you're there. Social events where you confirmed you'd be. Once is coincidence. Twice is luck. 3 times? She's creating opportunities. She's making your life easier. Because if she had to wait for you to work up the courage to create these situations, you two would never meet. And here comes something that destroys most men. You think you have to be perfect to deserve her attention. You think she's too experienced, too worldly, too demanding. So you sabotage yourself. You shrink. You act like you're not enough. And you know what happens? She perceives your insecurity and thinks you're not interested. That she's being polite with you out of pity. The cycle feeds itself and no one takes action. Third sign, touch. But calibrated touch. She's not going to grab you. She'll touch your arm when she laughs at something you said. She'll adjust your shirt collar saying it was crooked. She'll brush her shoulder against yours when you're sitting side by side. These are 2-second touches. Brief. But intentional. Each touch is a test. She's checking if you're comfortable. If you respond. If there's physical chemistry between you. Fourth sign, selective memory. She remembers small details about you. You mentioned once that you like sci-fi movies. 3 weeks later she comments on a new release in the genre and asks if you've seen it. You said you were studying for an exam. She asks how it went. This isn't politeness. Polite people don't store information about strangers. She's building a mental map of you. She's creating connection. Fifth sign, strategic availability. She makes time for you in ways that seem casual. She needs to pass near your workplace and asks if you want to grab a quick coffee. She's going to an event and mentions it would be nice if you went too. These aren't direct date invitations. They're situations where you can be together without the weight of an official commitment. She's reducing the risk. Creating contexts where you can get to know each other better without pressure. But here's the brutal problem men face. You were taught that showing interest too early is desperate. That you need to play hard to get. Play games. And when you do that with an older woman who's interested, she doesn't see charm. She thinks you don't want anything. Because she has no time or patience for teenage games. If she's creating situations and you don't respond, she simply stops. And you lose. Sixth sign, measured vulnerability. She shares something personal with you. Not deep secrets right away, but something that shows trust. She tells you about a difficult moment she went through. About a dream she has. About something that made her happy recently. She's opening emotional doors. Showing that you can walk in. That she wants you to know who she really is beyond the surface. Seventh sign, discreet jealousy. When another woman approaches you or shows interest, she becomes different. Quieter. Less available right after. She makes subtle comments about the person. It's not childish tantrum. It's real fear of losing something she doesn't have yet but already wants. And that fear makes her pull back because she doesn't want to seem possessive. She doesn't want you to think she's crazy. And this emotional roller coaster she lives internally is invisible to you. You only see the external behavior. Her clothes one day, distant the next. You see inconsistency. She's fighting a war between desire and fear. Between wanting to get closer and protecting herself from rejection. Between taking a risk and preserving herself. Eighth sign, digital engagement. She likes your posts on social media. She comments relevant things. Not just emojis. Replies that show she paid attention to what you posted. She sends messages outside of obligatory context. She shares things she thought you would like. She's building digital bridges. Maintaining presence in your life even when you're not physically together. Ninth sign, visual investment. When she knows she's going to see you, she puts more effort into her appearance. Different hair. Chosen outfit. Noticeable perfume. She wants you to see her as a desirable woman. She wants you to notice that she cares about the impression she makes on you. And this, coming from a mature woman, is huge. Because she's long past the phase of getting dressed up for anyone. If she's doing this, you're special. Now we reach the most delicate point. The moment where everything can fall apart or finally come together. You identified the signs. You realized she's interested. And then comes the question that paralyzes you. Now what? What do you do with this information? Because recognizing interest is only half the equation. The other half is having the courage to act. And here lies the terror of millions of men. You're afraid you're interpreting it wrong. Afraid of making a fool of yourself. Afraid that everything is just politeness and you're going to ruin a potential friendship. So you stay still. Waiting for her to be more direct. But she won't be. She has already been as direct as she can within her social limitations. Now it's your turn. The brutal truth is that mature women expect emotional maturity from you. They expect you to be man enough to handle the situation without needing a manual. They don't want to have to explain everything. They don't want to have to hold your hand and say, "Yes, I'm interested, now invite me out." If you need that, you're not ready for her. And this creates unbearable pressure. Because you know there's a window of opportunity. You know that if you take too long, she will assume disinterest on your part and move on. Women over 35 don't wait indefinitely. They have complex lives. Responsibilities. Priorities. If you don't fit in naturally, she won't force it. So what do you need to do? First, match her signals at the same level of subtlety. She touched your arm? Touch hers at the next natural opportunity. She remembered something you told her? Remember something she mentioned. She created opportunities to be near you? Create some too. Show that you're paying attention. That you understand the game. Second, gradually escalate. Don't jump from zero to a romantic dinner invitation. That's scary. Suggest a coffee. A walk. Something casual where you two can talk more. Something that doesn't feel like the pressure of an official date, but is clearly a step beyond casual coincidences. Let the intention be implicit but present. Third, maintain eye contact. This is the ultimate test. When she looks at you, hold the gaze. Don't look away immediately. Let it last 2-3 seconds. Smile slightly. This communicates confidence and interest without words. And she will understand the message perfectly. Fourth, be direct at the right moment. There is a moment when the dance of subtleties has to end. When someone needs to verbalize the interest. And yes, ideally you are the one who does that. It doesn't need to be a big declaration. It can be simple. I'm really enjoying spending time with you. Would you like to go out with me for real? Done. You removed the ambiguity. You put the cards on the table. But let's talk about the elephant in the room, the age difference. This will be on her mind all the time. She will wonder if you really want her or if it's just curiosity. If you'll get tired of her. If your friends will judge. If your family will accept it. These fears are real and deep. And you need to address this without making it seem like a problem. How? By not making age a topic. Not mentioning that she's older as if that were a novelty or an obstacle. Treating her as a woman. As a person. Showing through actions that her age is neither a flaw nor a fetish. It's just a neutral fact that doesn't change anything about what you feel. Because here's the truth no one talks about. Mature women are amazing to be in a relationship with. They know who they are. They know what they want. They don't play stupid games. They don't create unnecessary drama. They communicate clearly. They respect your space. They have interesting lives. Deep conversations. Rich experiences to share. They bring emotional stability that younger women are still developing. but they also carry specific insecurities. Concerns about their body, about wrinkles, about physical changes that come with age. And you need to make her feel desired. Not despite her age, but exactly as she is. Whole, complete, beautiful the way she exists today. And when you manage to convey this genuinely, something magical happens. Her defenses fall. Real vulnerability appears. And you discover a depth of connection that superficial relationships never reach. Because she's not trying to be something she's not. She's authentic. And she expects authenticity in return. Now let's be practical. Are you in one of these situations right now? Is there an older woman in your life sending these signs? Think honestly. Review the last few weeks. The interactions. The small moments. It's all there. You just needed to know where to look. If so, you have a choice. Keep pretending you don't notice and let the opportunity die. Or have the courage to take the next step. To reciprocate. To show that you're interested too. To risk the vulnerability that real relationships require. Neither choice is wrong. But only one leads you to where you truly want to be. Let's wrap up with the most important truth of all. The one that completely changes how you see attraction, relationships, and human connection. Women over 35 who show interest in you are not doing charity. They are not settling. They are choosing. And there is a gigantic difference between those two things. When she invests time in you, creates situations for you to be together, remembers your details, touches you intentionally, she is saying something deep. She's saying that you have value. That your presence matters. That there is something in you she wants to explore. And coming from someone who has lived long enough to know exactly what she wants? That's powerful. But here's the final secret that few understand. The dynamic works because you complement each other. She brings experience, emotional stability, clarity about life. You bring energy, fresh perspective, vitality. It's not about one compensating for the other's deficiencies. It's about two different worlds creating something unique when they meet. Society will say it's strange. It will judge. It will create narratives about her being desperate or you looking for a mother figure. Ignore all of that. Because people who judge other people's relationships are usually unhappy in their own. They project frustrations. They can't stand seeing others break rules they themselves follow out of fear. Age gap relationships where the woman is older work when there is mutual respect. When neither person is using the other to fill an emotional void. When the connection is genuine and not based on fantasy or rebellion. And you know when it's real. You feel it in the consistency. In the ease. In the way conversations flow naturally. Now, if you're on the other side. If you are the older woman who is interested but afraid to act. Understand this. You are not wrong for desiring. You are not wrong for feeling attracted to someone younger. Age does not define attraction. Chemistry does not respect numbers. And you deserve to explore connections that make you feel alive. But also understand that you need to give clear enough signals. Yes, there is social risk. Yes, there is fear of rejection. But if you want something to happen, you need to create the conditions. You need to make it easier. Because most younger men won't have the courage to take the first step. They've been conditioned to think you're out of their league. So be strategic. Use the signs we talked about. Create opportunities. Show interest in a calibrated way. And when you sense reciprocity, take a step further. It doesn't have to be dramatic. It can be a simple invitation. A sentence that removes ambiguity. You have more courage than you think. And truly mature men respect women who know what they want. The central lesson in all this is simple but revolutionary. Attraction does not follow social rules. It does not obey expectations. It does not fit into comfortable boxes. It happens where it happens. Between whoever it happens. And trying to force attraction to follow accepted patterns is to kill its very essence. You will meet people who tell you to pursue relationships appropriate for your age. People who will list all the reasons why it won't work. People who will question your intentions. And you know what you do with those opinions? You thank them politely and live your life. Because in the end, you are the one who wakes up every day next to the person you chose. You are the one who lives the consequences of your decisions. And if the choice makes you happy, if there is mutual respect, if you support each other and grow together, then it's right. It doesn't matter what social spreadsheets say about appropriate age. Life is far too short to let real connections die because of fear of judgment. It's far too short to pretend you don't feel what you feel. It's far too short to follow scripts other people wrote about how you should live. So if you identified the signs, if you notice there's interest, if you feel something real, act. Take the next step. Risk vulnerability. Because the regret of not trying hurts far more than rejection. You can recover from a no. You don't recover from a lifetime of what if. And for you who are watching this and recognized your own situation, understand, this isn't just another video. It's a mirror showing you what you already knew deep down but were afraid to admit. The person is interested. The signs are there. Now it's your turn to decide what to do with this information. The story doesn't end here. It begins. It begins the moment you close this video and decide to act differently. Decide to notice. Decide to reciprocate. Decide to take a risk. Because that's where real stories are written. Not in perfect endings, but in courageous beginnings. If this content moved you, if it made you see situations differently, subscribe to the channel and like the video. Share it with someone who needs to hear this. Because knowledge kept to yourself transforms nothing. And transformation is exactly what you need right now.